Welcome back to WallaCast, a podcast where we discuss a series of anime we love, and sometimes with the actors who voice them. I am Lauren Salter.
I'm Matt Walker.
And today we're discussing Flip-Flappers! Yay! We've been very excited to record this show, if
Totally.
you can't tell.
Do you think we should finally explain the name of the show?
Yes.
Our show, not that show.
Oh, our show. Oh.
Maybe that show too, but our show.
I was like, wait, about Flip-Flappers?
It's only
in
episode...
the title? Well, this is going to be episode 2. Anyway,
Whatever
WallaCast.
episode this is going to be.
So, what is a Walla, you might ask?
So, Walla is a voice acting term since our sort of theme of the show is not just dubbed anime, but we focus on the actors. Walla are the background voices in an anime. So, unnamed characters, random crowd scenes. Actors get called in to record some Walla for a show. It's a way a lot of them get their foot in the door, things like that. So, we kind of figure ourselves as just little background voices, so...
In the wide scheme of voice acting.
Yeah. And we thought it was fun.
If you haven't heard... I mean, you've heard Walla voices. If you've watched anime, you just probably aren't aware of them. But Caitlin Glass... Yeah, Caitlin Glass has done a really interesting peek at Walla voices when she was talking about Garo Vanishing Line. We had just come up with the name of our podcast, and then she released that episode, and I was like, what? And then I started hearing the term Walla everywhere.
One of those little things.
I think it was in Black Panther. I can't remember.
Really?
Yeah, there was somebody recently mentioned Walla, and I was just like, that's our name. It's a common voice acting term. It's not unusual, but for me, only knowing it recently, I was like, oh, that's our...
Yeah, I mean, unless you're really into it, you probably haven't come across this term.
Yeah, that's true, because you don't really think about the background voices.
Yeah.
But that is why we named our podcast as such.
Okay, so back to Flip-Flappers. Okay, here's your par for the course preview. If you have not seen it, this is why you might want to watch it and the pertinent details. It is a 13-episode sort of modern magical girl shoujo-ai show. It is animated by Studio 3 Hertz, or San Heretsu. It's a relatively new studio, but it's made up of a lot of industry veterans, including some people from Bones, from Production IG, people who also do Wit Studio, which I realize is owned by Production IG. Don't write me about that. Anyway, if anyone has seen Rolling Girls, you will recognize the character art and some of the animations, because we have some of the same people working on both those shows. It was dubbed recently by Sentai Filmworks.
Very recently.
It was released, well, as of this recording, maybe 3 weeks ago, give or take. So it is currently available from them. They have a DVD, a Blu-ray, and a premium limited collector's edition thing, which comes with a really sweet booklet, by the way, because I bought that one. If you're really into storyboards, character art, things like that, I highly recommend getting that version for that. It's the thickest sort of like behind the scenes booklet I think I've seen in a limited edition.
Yeah, definitely within a DVD pack.
Yeah.
It's also streaming on High Dive, which is Sentai's streaming service.
Yeah, as of right this second, it's not entirely up on there. They're doing one episode a week, but by the time this airs, it may very well all be up there.
Yeah, because we're talking, this is March 10th right now. Yeah. So you're probably fine by the time we listen to this.
So what's the general synopsis?
Well, it is...
non-spoiler synopsis.
The non-spoiler, okay. 2 girls meet each other and discover an alternate dimension. Kind of think Madoka without the...
Less horribleness.
a little less heartbreak, I guess. And these 2 girls grow to care very much about one another, and they have adventures and dramatic storylines later on.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it's about discovery. It's a coming of age story in a lot of ways as well. Mm-hmm. We definitely recommend it. So if you haven't seen it, go out there, watch it, and then come back now. Yeah,
if you haven't seen it, stop listening, because here there be spoilers.
Yep. There's a spoiler alert.
There you go. Here we go. Yay. Okay, we're finally talking about this show.
I'm so excited.
I know. This is not the first show that we've watched for this podcast, but it will be one of your earliest ones, listeners.
And it's the first show that neither of us have seen before talking about this. This is both of our first watchings.
Mm-hmm. Yay. It's very exciting when that happens. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it's my first watch.
Yeah. And my second or third or fourth.
Matt has seen all the shows.
So forgive us if we miss some details. Like I said, we just watched it once.
Yeah. it won't.
Hardcore Flip Flapper fans, I'm sure there's one of you out there.
Yeah, probably more than one of you.
I hope there's more than one, but honestly, I never hear about this show, so...
I hope we hear about it more, because this is I very much enjoyed this show.
I'm all for under-the-radar shows.
That's true. I don't know if this one's counted as under the radar. Maybe from you, I heard a lot about it, I guess.
Yeah, I talked about it because I saw clips and some things and it just looked awesome. And I'm an unabashed super fan of magical girl shows, so...
Because they're so good.
It was up my alley. And
the voice cast was a major draw for both of us, I think.
Yeah, actually, I have a note that says somewhere here, it was cool to see Sentai bringing out the vets.
Yep.
The Sentai has been using some newer and less common people, which I'm generally all for. Mm-hmm. However, every once in a while, it is cool to see those people you sort of fell in love with their voices all come together, or mostly come together. There was a couple newer voices, like Yayaka's voice was the main. Yeah, probably the only big role that wasn't what I would consider a veteran of the industry.
She's been in things that I've seen, but I wouldn't have been able to pick her out yet.
Yeah.
So I actually really liked Yayaka a lot.
Yeah. The two mains are Brittney Karbowski and Luci Christian.
So good.
Two people that can do almost anything.
Yep. And I had a note about that. We have talked about this, we being me and Matt. This is a very good role for Luci Christian for me. I loved this voice. I kept waiting. I've heard her mostly as young girls. So, like, the young Kokona and the young Mimi is kind of what I'm used to from her. So, to hear her voice as a little more mature of a young girl, like Kokona, was really great. I kept kind of waiting for that, she's just gonna go young again, but it just kept kind of that same maturity. And it was just so good.
Yeah, you haven't heard a lot of her lower register voices and more her serious roles.
I mean, Okami-san is the only alternate, like, besides the young girls like Nagisa. That's the only,
She does play a lot of those, and she plays them very well.
Yeah.
But she definitely can play a lot of other characters, including older characters. Mm-hmm. Not that Kokona's older, but she is sort of... She is the reserved one. Mm-hmm. She's the straight woman versus foil to Papika's giant free spirit, big and boisterous and hard on her sleeve kind of character.
Yep. Yeah, I really liked listening to Luci do this one.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
And just her emotion, she's just, actors are just so good at their job. It's so much fun to watch, or to listen to, rather.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, probably not people listening to this podcast, but a lot of people do dismiss voice acting as like, oh, I can just get in a booth and talk. It's like, yeah, but... Okay, think of, like, coming from someone who has done acting, not voice acting, but I've done live theater, and I remember there were days where the person opposite you in a scene would just not be there for some reason, and it's so much harder to do anything like that. Yeah. But that's what these actors do all the time. They don't get scene partners.
They don't get to play off of other people's facial emotions or body emotions.
Yeah, they're just in a booth.
It's ridiculous. They're so talented.
So, yeah.
You won't find any of those, voice actors are just talking. You won't find that here. I have nothing but the utmost respect, especially in a show like this, or, other dramatic shows, or anything really. It's just kind of floors me at how emotional I can get just listening to voices.
Yeah. I agree.
Another voice, speaking of, Brittney Karbowski. Mm-hmm. Holy crap, is she good in this?
She plays a lot of different voices in this for certain episodes.
That episode was so good.
Yeah, she has, there's one episode later in the season, I don't remember which one exactly, where she sort of has to be these multiple characters / personalities. And I have one note that says, "Oh my God, it's Black Star."
Yeah, she did the laugh too, and I was like, "Oh, I know that voice."
Because she plays this male who definitely has a Black Star-esque voice.
Yeah. And she even plays an older male, which you don't really hear a lot of in voice acting.
Yeah, the older punk with the pompadour.
Yeah, it's great.
Because apparently all Japanese gang leaders have pompadours.
And the personality that was the more sexy, mature. I've never heard that from her. I haven't seen that kind of a show. I think the closest that I've come is Misaka, and that's not even... No. That's not nearly the type of sultry, smooth,
Yeah. It feels like I've heard that before, but I can't think of where.
Ooh, mama.
It's definitely not her typical wheelhouse, that's for sure.
I enjoyed it. That was, was a great episode to showcase her talent, because she really had at least 6 characters to play.
But in general, she does that more boisterous, big-voiced character that just has a lot of expression and a lot of emotion quite well.
In my head, that's what Brittney's like. Brittney, I hope we meet you, because I feel like this is you. Like, this type of big, energetic, happy with everything personality. I mean, we're all human, so, not everybody can have good days, but this is the version of you that I have in my head. I stand by it.
Speaking of Paprika's character, I have a note that says, I love the mysterious, crazy girl that takes you on an adventure trope. It's, I guess not always a girl, but it's usually a girl that just comes in, a la mysterious transfer student, though the transfer student part of this came later.
Yeah.
But it's just the person who grabs the main character who's had this boring, plain life and just says, you're coming with me and you're doing a thing. And you don't have a say in it, really.
And they do.
Yeah.
She's a good character. She is the kind of character that just makes this type of show so much fun. And of course, when that type of character has dramatic moments and emotional moments, it makes it that much harder. But overall, this type of character is just so much fun to watch. Oh, she's so good. I love her just staring over Coconut's shoulder, just waiting for her to even react. Just watching and waiting.
Coconut's not the most observant person either. It takes her a long time to notice that.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you can feel somebody at your back. I don't know what Coconut's doing.
You'd think.
Yeah. My first note was, oh no, I'm in episode 1 and I'm already in love.
The show sets it up that you ship these two mega hard.
Oh my god.
Right off the bat.
I have many notes that say, oh my gosh, I ship it. I ship it so hard.
Well, and I think one of the overall themes is sort of the discovery of your own feelings for someone. Like, these are two, it's Coconut, who I think you're supposed to understand that she's lived a life without any sort of feelings like this before. Like, she had Yayaka as a friend, but I don't think she ever thought of her that way and never does. But now you've got Paprika, and she's very resistant at first, but she slowly goes to have a sort of a resistant affection toward her, and eventually she openly declares that they both love each other, which, interestingly enough, very freely for an anime. Often this is the big declaration of love is often a very difficult moment to lead up to. Like, people are shy or they don't want to do it. But this one was just sort of, after it was finally realized, it was, they just said it to each other and that was it.
And that was, it was big when Coconut said it. Paprika had said it a few times.
Yeah.
Do you consider them a couple? Like, actually in canon?
I mean, formally, I guess not. But informally, yes. Because it's not like they set it out to say, like, hey, we're going to be together forever and I actually want to date you.
Oh, okay.
They said they want to go on adventures forever and stuff like that. So I think they probably would be a couple if you got to see the story go farther. But you don't. It just kind of ends. So I would say yes and no. I don't know.
I interpreted it as most definitely they were a couple.
Again, I'm getting hung up on really
the technicalities.
Technicality details here. Like I said, informally, absolutely yes. If we're talking about, like, again, laying down we decided we're dating each other, and this is how we, like, I could see someone coming up to them and being like, are you two dating? And them not having the same answer. That kind of thing.
That's good. I could see that. So, have you seen an anime that actually has 2 lesbian characters outside of hentai? I mean,
what's that supposed to mean?
I want to know. Like, an everyday anime that has a couple who is explicitly gay, lesbian.
Well, I've been saving watching Citrus, so technically no.
Oh, okay.
Even though I know about that show and I know that they certainly are that way.
Because, as you know, Sailor Moon's first dub had
cousins.
Sailor Neptune and Uranus as cousins.
Maybe not as explicitly like that.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, as many probably already know, Japan has a sort of tenuous relationship with homosexuality. They haven't exactly embraced it the way the U.S. has. Not that exactly is perfect, but I think the U.S. has come a long way in the last few years.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are holdouts, but that is what it is. But Japan has sort of fetishized it in some ways and used it for entertainment purposes, but they don't often really try to express a true homosexual relationship that way. You're seeing more and more of that, though. You've got Yuri on Ice on the male side. Mm-hmm. You've got this show and stuff like Citrus, which is anime or is in simuldub right now. So it seems like you're getting more and more of these, but then of course you've got the constant opposite argument is like, is it still just being used to sell DVDs and get viewers? My interpretation of that is always like, well, maybe, but if people just find that revolting, they're not going to watch it. If they're not at least somewhat accepting of it, then why would you do that? So even if it's not the ideal way to go about it, this is the foot in the door, basically. And that may not seem the greatest way, but that's honestly how these things work.
Yeah.
Like, societies take a long time to accept these things, and the first steps are exposing it to the masses as entertainment and them accepting this as okay and not finding it wrong.
It's interesting because, there are many anime with incestual relationships that are still watched and still, but that's, I see that as...
that's the thing that's sort of flipping this on its head, because in the West, that's worse than it is there. People can correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be. I'm just speaking out but from what I've read, it, like old, British royalty, it's not uncommon for sort of arranged marriages back in like feudal Japan and things like that to have incestual relationships. And that was, and their sort of feudal royal era lasted longer than the West did. So that is a more recent thing that was accepted than it is here. And they also don't have the religious aspect to go inside, like the religious taboo with that as well. It's not an accepted thing in Japan now. That's for sure. But I think their history shows that it's something that's less, like, yes, as you said, like, like squeamish than it is in the West. So, but right now it is just being used as sort of a fetish kind of thing, which is a weird thing that's a thing, but that's, I'm not an anthropologist. I'm not going to try to analyze that.
I would much rather see an LGBTQ relationship in anime than I would an incestuous one, personally. I mean, but, speaking as, I don't label myself, but I guess the closest I would label myself is bisexual. Seeing a show like this is like, oh, yay, we're actually exploring two women who love each other, and that's it. Like, they love each other. It happens. It's not, for me, this isn't an unusual phenomenon. I think everybody has a friend, guy or girl, who they love, and they can just say that. This, I feel, for me, is more of an emotional love, like an actual, they love each other. They're going to be together forever. It's not like I love you, girlfriend.
Yeah, it is definitely billing it as a deep-seated love, as a romantic love, as emotional love. Yeah, because we see a lot of anime where the girls love each other, of course. Any of the Love Live girls and anything like that. But seeing something like this where they do explicitly say, I love you, a lot. Yeah, in Love Live at most, they give little hints, which I think is just really for the audience. Yeah. More so than the characters. No. Hey, I'm not saying it doesn't work. No? What? Nozomi and Ellie? What? No, Maki and Nico. Thank you very much. Okay. Well, that's fine. That's also fine, but yeah. Fight me. I will. Bring on. Where's the Captain America Civil War meme? Oh my god. Back on track. But this one, I feel like this one is even a step beyond something like Izetta, where I think they wanted to have Izetta and Fine together and like as a couple, but like you said, they're not quite there yet. Yeah, it's much more... They're teasing it for the audience, but I feel like that's what the creators wanted. They're just like holding it back because, I don't think we're ready for that yet. But this show, I feel like, is a step beyond that. We're like, oh, hey, we're like, this is what we got. These two girls they're in love with each other, and that's it. Like, yeah, despite the fact that you saw no actual physical signs of love beyond holding hands, pretty much, or like a hug here and there, they definitely had a few moments. It was like, oh yeah, they're probably gonna kiss now. Nope, I guess they're not. Yeah, I thought that too. So they're just they're one step away
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways. They decided not to go full bore in that direction. But
the physical contact, though, is I think that's a big deal.
It is, but it's a much more innocent way than I think they could have. I mean, I'm not saying that you need to show them going all the way, but a kiss would have been. I think a kiss would have been nice. Damn it!
I think so too. But I'm one of those people also who fights in Western media too, where they don't necessarily need to kiss to know that they love each other. Like Booth and Brennan don't kiss until season 3.
Yeah.
In Bones, and that they're in love with each other. And I don't know, it's just, or like Mulder and Scully, I don't think you need to see them.
Yeah, again, you don't need to, but again, with something like this, if they want to show this kind of relationship, that's part of this kind of relationship.
I guess so. I mean, for me, not necessarily, because I'm not one for the smooching myself. I don't necessarily want to have that type of relationship. So to see this show and see that kind of deep love for each other without the physical was fine for me. And from my perspective, they're absolutely just
it's not something I needed, but I think if it is correct that they wanted to show of more of a lesbian relationship that is less sort of snickery, like look at those two, and more of a mature, more realistic idea, than having that sort of quintessential solidifying moment that straight couples get in almost every romantic anime.
Yeah, it's true.
Would have been a good step to take.
I would have liked, instead of like a big moment of a epic kiss.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to be.
No, I would have loved to see, I keep bringing back Western media because again, I haven't seen many examples of LGBTQ relationships, at least done well, but in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Willow and Tara kiss in a very understated scene. It just happens naturally, and then it's just the next scene.
Yeah, and that would have
fit. Natural.
I think that would have fit very well with this type of show.
Absolutely.
And I think we'll get into this. The way of storytelling in this particular show was interesting in a lot of ways because of their choices of how to move the plot and how to tell the story. Mm-hmm. And yes, a quick, very natural, just it happens and no fireworks in the background or anything would have been appropriate.
Mm-hmm. I think the storytelling that you brought up is probably something that I wrote down. I wrote that the transition from introducing the characters to suddenly having their magical girl personalities and weapons and powers, I think was very abrupt. Because it happened within the space of from the end of one episode into the other, and I was like, what?
I was quite conflicted on the pacing and the exposition of this show, especially in the early episodes.
I think it was episode 4 or 5, the first time they, transformed.
It's like episode 3. It's super early, and it just happens.
I had to actually rewind the episode and start from the beginning, because I thought that I missed something. I thought that when I
same reaction.
Skipped the credits, which, sorry guys, I skipped the opening. It's fine. When I skipped the opening, I thought that I skipped over too much, so I had to go back and start over, because the pacing, I was just like, oh,
yeah, it was an interesting choice. They have the quintessential magical girl transformation scene, but it is after they've already sort of unlocked their magical girl powers. Mm-hmm. And in general, people who know me know that I'm not a big fan of clunky exposition and too much exposition, but I feel like this show might have needed a little more exposition here every once in a while.
Yep.
A little bit more. Maybe it was, again, maybe this fell into the trap of, we've got 24 episodes worth of ideas, and we've got 13 episodes worth of budget.
I was just about to say that.
So, that, it happens, so maybe that was it. That's what it felt like in a lot of ways, because a lot of episodes just, literally just throw you in. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that's actually good. Sometimes I like kind of being like, okay, what's going on? And then sort of discovering it along the way. But other times it's like, wait, I don't actually understand this overworld as much as I feel like I should.
And this feels like the type of show where the side characters could have been explored a little bit more.
Yes.
And it could have been done in 22, 23 episodes. So even Yayaka, we could have had her whole backstory, because you get it in, the last episode.
Yeah, which I really liked. I like what they did with her toward the last, 3 episodes, really.
Yeah, and the twins that accompany her.
The twins seem utterly superfluous as characters.
Yeah.
With the way they just didn't basically have anywhere to go. You've got beings born from the amorphous. Like, that seems interesting.
Yeah.
Like, that seemed like that was going to be a thing.
Which it was, but only for one of them.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, all right.
So that, they were two characters immediately who I was like, okay, I kind of want to know your backstory. Also, the third child.
Yeah.
Which
they
is threw in.
So Evangelion.
Yeah, but at least Evangelion kind of brought...
Well, I just mean like, oh, the third child. Like, oh, you're doing that on purpose. I know you are.
Yeah,
like, that's totally an Eva reference.
But that was like, okay, great. And I was so ready for this story of this overpowered child or whatnot.
Yeah, Nunu or whatever Emily's weird cutesy character is. She comes on the scene seeming like she's gonna be one of those, like, I'm the like, cutesy baby that can murder everyone. Yeah. And then I guess nothing really happened with her. Yeah, that was weird.
Kind of went to the other side automatically. That whole bit with Boo as well, the robot. I was like, okay, why are you here? We don't need you except just to kind of, give us a little comedic humor.
Yeah, I think Boo. I don't mind Boo the way they did because I feel like that's all that Boo is for.
Yeah, I guess so.
In fact, I actually kind of like the whole when he finally got his little transformation with the the satellite body, and it ended up being like completely like a just giant letdown. Yeah, like that was actually kind of funny.
Yeah. That was good. I don't know. I think that
I like Jay Hickman's voice for Boo. I think he worked quite well.
He was good. Just the side characters, Sayuri and
I think my biggest letdown,
the doctor, the mad scientist type doctor.
Oh yeah, I think my biggest letdown of the side character was Iridori, the art student character.
Oh yeah,
because she actually had sort of significance in 2 big episodes. This theoretical turning point with Kokona and stuff, and I thought we were gonna resolve somehow her plot line with. They seem to imply that they may have changed her life by going into sort of what we figure out is her layer of the pure illusion, but
there was
nothing really came out of it. It's like, wait, but I thought
they brought her back for a couple moments here and there, but it wasn't anything plot driven.
Yeah,
I was nail polish on,
and that was I thought that was really interesting, and it was funny because I know I'm late to the party, but I'm playing Persona 5. And the whole basis of that is these group of people go into people's sort of psyche and can change them that way. I was like, oh my god, it's Persona 5. They're gonna go inside her weird, like, brain and somehow change her personality and help her, maybe? I don't know. But then it's like, oh no, I guess she's just sort of different. And then we move on to something else.
Yeah.
Again, it felt like there might have been another episode in there somewhere that we just did not get to see because reasons.
I definitely did feel like the show was rushed, especially towards the end, with Mimi, too, even.
Yeah, that plot line I felt like kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And then it just dominated everything.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking in the second to last episode, like, how did we get to this point? Like, I'm really concerned about Kokona right now, which is fine, but also, yikes, Mom is crazy, but where did Mom come from? It was just a lot. Too soon, too much for me.
And
I was so wrapped up in how cute they were together.
Well, it didn't feel like there was really a real build to that.
Yeah. I mean, they tried to with the boat.
We get hints of her, and okay.
And, oh my gosh, shock, Salt is the father.
Yeah.
AKA, you can't see my sarcasm face. I'm making it right now.
So, and that brings up a question I had. I lost my notes.
Please
so, okay. I know Papi Kana loses her memories and sort of has this sort of age regression. But then we know she gets her memories back at some point because they talk about this. So now, mentally speaking, Kokona is in love with a very much older person than she is. Even if Paprika doesn't act like it, Paprika is much older than her. Like, way older than her.
Right.
And if you have your memories from when you were an adult, then at some point you sort of are older still, even if your body isn't. I don't know. That raised kind of an awkward question for me. Like, I think they kind of tried to play that off. I was like, wait a minute, why did we do this? Because you just made a huge wrinkle in this relationship here.
I didn't even really consider that.
Again, it's definitely a nitpick, but it's like, okay, if you had just left her without her memories, then that would have been solved. Or if we didn't, I don't feel like we needed her to...
I feel like leaving it without the memories would have been just heartbreaking.
I don't know. Like,
Because they built up this whole relationship and then and that's almost
not her memories of Coconut, of course. Her memories of Mimi and them previously.
I see.
Even and then did Paprika need to know Mimi before that? That's another thing. That plot sort of conflict felt strange. Forced.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's it felt like, oh, I guess these two have been happy for too long. We need to somehow bring conflict in here. And the way we're going to do that is introduce this sort of third person rival.
Ugh, rival with the mom. Ugh. And that was the other thing. I did not see chemistry between Paprika and Mimi as I did Paprika.
No, they seemed like they were friends.
Yeah.
Which I think is what the show wanted us to realize them as.
The timing of it was weird.
Yeah, and
the timeline is skewed.
Yeah, and it puts that weird kink of, again, if you're gonna give Paprika her memories back, you have just aged her mentally a lot, which means...
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. The body doesn't age, though. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're dating a younger person, it's not because the body is different. It's the mental difference that's the creepy part, right? Isn't it?
I guess so. I'm going, God, I just keep drawing it to Buffy because there's a 240-year age difference between Buffy and Angel.
Which, again, I would say is maybe a little creepy.
I mean, it's a little creepy, but...
Man, I don't want this to be a thing. I don't want this to be an issue. I just really want this to be fine on all aspects, but...
Well, I'm glad that I didn't see that, or that I didn't focus on that,
Sorry.
I guess. No, that's fine. I mean, your opinion... I just didn't even think about that when I was watching it, because I was too enamored with their relationship.
But in general, it was a weird direction with the mom.
I didn't like her as villain much.
I think...
That was just, it felt too rushed. Again, whole thing.
If they could have made it less rushed, I don't mind her as sort of obstacle for Coconut's growth. Because again, I think that's what this show is all about, is Coconut discovering herself as a person.
Is it Celine Black? Or Colleen Black?
I think it's Colleen. Colleen?
I want to say
Shelley. Shelley's her first name.
Yeah.
We'll go with Shelley.
Shelley was very, I mean, I, again, haven't heard a younger voice from her much. Mm-hmm. And that was really, really cool to see, or hear. Also, Tiffany Grant, I have not heard her as an old woman. That's so cool. Actors.
For a few moments, I actually thought it was Lucy Christian playing an older lady, because I've heard her do that. Huh. I was like, oh, that makes sense, because they're related. And I'm like, wait, no, that's not her.
That was kind of fun to see. And then so whenever I hear Tiffany Grant, Matt usually brings up Asuka, because, I mean, you think Asuka and you think Tiffany Grant, or vice versa. I do. I don't know, because it's the first voice, and it's
by far her most iconic role.
Yeah.
There's just no way around that.
So, she's in Fairy Tale, she plays a bird, so Matt was calling her Oscar Bird. It's just like...
So I remember that, wasn't it?
Yeah, Oscar Bird. So every time I hear Tiffany Grant, I'm like, oh, old lady Oscar. So this is what I imagine.
We don't mean to reduce you to a single character.
No, not at all.
Sorry.
But we love Oscar, or I love Oscar. So I have, sometimes with certain actors, I have a hard time disassociating them from one character. I'm sorry, Tiffany, you're one of them, but you're so good. That's why I almost didn't recognize her as this role, because I was like, oh, old woman. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, same with Shelley. I don't usually hear her as a younger girl. I usually hear her as just the older, mature woman.
Yeah, she's played a couple. Kyo in Clannad is the one that comes to mind. And actually, people sort of criticize with her about sounding too old in that role. Though, I think for the character she plays, it works fine. And I feel like they act like they never heard a single person in high school that didn't have a slightly lower register voice. But like I was at high school. These people exist. I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever.
She does a good villain voice, I will say. I mean,
yeah.
She had a lot to work with in this role. She had all sorts of... I mean, again, it was kind of the same. She had two different characters to play, almost.
Which was kind of a strange thing. What were those two people?
I think one of them was the Mimi from what is it?
Pure Illusion?
Pure Illusion. And one of them was the Mimi from their own world, like the reality, I guess. So she had to play, because the crazy Mimi was from Pure Illusion.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured, but that was another one where I was like, I wouldn't have minded a few lines of exposition here, because I don't actually understand who you are. So do we all have sort of doppelgangers in Pure Illusion? Is that a thing? Because we have not introduced this until now.
I don't know. Well, they kind of did, though, when they had that whole episode where they were switching back and forth between being Mimi, I think, being, when Coconut...
I remember they were switching between being Iridori.
Iridori, sorry. Yes.
But, like, that was her real memories. That was just sort of... I didn't feel like that was an alternate person.
Salt brought it up, too, or Salt's alter came at the very end of his life and said, switch with me.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's where...
But that was after this happened. I don't know, that was just sort of weird, like, plot twist that came out of nowhere again.
I guess I thought that was a thing where their alters were there, but they could switch back and forth. So that was what Mimi did, was her alter switched with her to protect Coconut, and then her alter went crazy. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, I guess.
I, again, could have been a little bit more clear with a few more episodes regarding that.
Yeah, again, it feels like this ought to be a 24-episode show with all they're trying to tell, and...
For how much I don't really enjoy Monster of the Week shows, I would have liked to see a couple Monster of the Week episodes just to establish even more Paprika and Coconut's relationship before all of that came.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that in their magical girl forms, their hair color switched?
Mm-hmm. Which confused the hell out of me sometimes.
Yeah, until they spoke.
Yeah.
Wait, oh.
Well, even then I was just like, oh yeah, that's Paprika. Oh right, no, that's Coconut, because she's got the,
I thought it was an interesting touch. I thought it was cute.
I thought it was smart, but it definitely... Especially because their costumes aren't particularly distinct either.
Oh, that's true.
So...
I can't believe we've made it 40 minutes into the episode and you have not mentioned David Wald.
Have we really been... Wow, 40 minutes. This is going to be a long one, folks. Yeah, she knows that David Wald is probably my favorite male voice actor.
Mm-hmm. I will have to admit that I actually had to look him up because the first couple times he spoke, I had my whole... you'll know that I love deep voices, so I had my whole swoon. Oh, that voice is so nice. And then I had to look it up, and I was like, oh, of course it's David Wald.
Yeah.
He has the most luxurious voice I've ever heard.
I recognize that right away, of course.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I really liked his performance, of course. I felt like Salt didn't have a ton to do till the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of thought that...
He made him out to be, like,
the sort
almost
of
a villain.
Yeah, it was a very Gendo Ikari sort of... I'm this stoic,
I just did the pose, you guys missed it.
Yeah, she did the Gendo Ikari pose. You know what it is if you've seen it. Yeah, the stoic leader who seems unfeeling, but maybe isn't
quite.
Which, again, that feels a little bit tropey and kind of like, okay, we've seen that before. But he did have some meat in the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then hearing him get to play the younger version of himself in the older version.
Which I don't think I've heard him play a younger version
of the
character.
Yeah, he doesn't play that many...
Because Kidomaru is basically the one that pops in my head.
Yeah, which is obviously a much more deeper character. Yeah, I'm trying to think. He doesn't do a lot of younger voices that much, which makes sense.
It was fun to hear, that's for sure. I love it when I get to hear actors who I have only heard as one thing do something else. Like, actually, this is a different role for Emily Neves too.
Which one?
Which is a good point. The third child.
Yeah, she was channeling Umaru a bit there.
I totally thought of Umaru.
I've heard her as a couple other roles that are similar to that sort of childish, squeaky kind of.
I did try to, I know her voice pretty well, and she's very good at actors, man.
Yeah.
They can act.
I caught that one. I didn't actually, I hadn't read the cast list.
I did.
Actually, so I didn't. I knew she was in it, but I actually thought when I heard the doctor, I was like, oh yeah, that's Emily, cool. And then I heard her I was like, oh, that's her again.
See, I saw her as the child first, and then I heard the doctor, I was like, oh, that's Emily. Great. Big Emily Neves fans, just in case you couldn't.
Though, New was kind of another letdown character that didn't go anywhere whatsoever.
Yeah, we touched on that. It feels like they were kind of ready to throw her in, and then not so much.
So, we talked about how this show does treat the two characters with quite a bit of respect. It isn't really super fetishy, like, as far as the relationship goes. And yet, a few episodes had some really weirdly placed fan service that just didn't fit with the rest of the show.
Okay, so I said yay because I wrote that same thing down. I wrote provocative camera angles, and I was actually going to bring that up, so hey, it's like me.
Yeah, the big one was, I don't remember what episode number this was, but it's where they're all in school swimsuits, and they end up traveling there, and they get stuck in this city created by this tiny person, apparently.
The butt shot? Are you talking about the butt shot?
Well, there's a bunch of them, yeah. they end up in this robot, which of course, because the person is tiny, the robot's cockpits are too tiny. So it gives them an excuse to have this camera angle that's really close up, but of course it's close up on, the butt, or with their legs sort of spread apart because they're in a cockpit, or whatever. There are other ones like Boo sort of ties them up a la tentacles, and that's awkward.
Yeah, Boo was creepy, and that's why I didn't really like Boo, because there were some moments where I was like, really? Are you just going to do that just to do it?
Yeah.
You don't need that? I'm into the show, I don't need that.
And the thing the thing I noticed was there are some sort of sexual symbolism, not as much in the realm of fan service, but I think sort of implying their sort of sexual discovery. Like they didn't build a relationship as a sexual one, but for the most part, to have romantic attraction to someone is to have some sort of sexual attraction to them too, whether it's overt or covert. Mm-hmm. And you've got the episode with the Keira Vincent-Davis's character, who's a very, very obviously overtly sexual character, and you've got that mask that supposedly amplifies people's feelings. You've got Coconut who resists sort of urges during the episode of the Alice in Wonderland episode. That's what I'm calling it. Yeah. And who Paprika just acts on them. Like that seems like an allegory toward other urges in life, and that I think is actually okay. Because that's how what people this age go through, and that's something and I think the way they tell that is an interesting way to do it. But all that aside, then you've got these bad male gaze camera angles.
There were at least 4 or 5 where I rolled my eyes, like, really? Come on. And there was one in that cockpit where they showed a very big butt shot and then they bounced and stuff. Come on. Like, you don't need this.
Yeah, and I was actually, I read a few sort of articles on the show just to see what other people were talking about, and this was brought up multiple times, is that it's
unnecessary.
If you want to make an ecchi fan service show, cool. That's, hey, people like that, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. But for a show like this that isn't about that, it feels so much more out of place.
Yeah. Like, if you look at NGNL, No Game, No Life, and this, NGNL is an ecchi fan servicey show. Like, that happens and it's established early. This one is spattered here and there where it's just like, it hits you out of the blue and you're like, what? Yeah. Really? And then it goes away. Ugh.
So that was kind of, that was one of the more negative aspects that it's just, it didn't need to be there. There was no reason for it.
Yep.
And the way they draw these girls, it's not like you're going to attract viewers because of their sort of, you're not gonna put a poster up and attract viewers who like ecchi because of that, because they're drawn very sort of conservatively. So what are you even doing? What fans are you servicing right here?
Their transformation was pretty sexual.
I mean, that looks like 100% of magical girl transformations to me.
It seems does, like, but you don't get the panty shot in Sailor Moon or in Madoka. No, you don't really.
You totally do in Madoka.
Do you?
Oh yeah, you do.
It's been a while since I've seen that show.
And even Sailor Moon, like, it's not quite as obvious, but you get some of that.
You get the skirt. You don't really get the
naked silhouette, and you get the.
Yeah, I don't know. You don't get the close up of the crotch.
Yeah, maybe that didn't seem so weird to me, because that. I mean, I'm not saying that's not an issue, but that felt a little bit more like standard magical girl fare than anything.
That's one of my least favorite things, is the unnecessary fan service in anime. It's one of my biggest problems.
Again, I'm not saying that's a problem, but like, it didn't jar me, because it's like, well, yeah, that's how magical girl stuff works a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Speaking of transformation, did you notice, like, I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but it felt like their sort of second transformation, the new outfits that they got at the very end, looked a little bit like wedding dresses.
I did totally notice that. Did you see the little hearts? The hearts on their chest? I mean, come on. You guys, if that's not explicitly saying they love each other and they're together, look, you guys. They're in wedding dresses. They have hearts on the chest. They're together. And that's just...
And of course they're saying, like, basically the fact that they've accepted their love has made them more powerful. Speaking of another sort of power trope.
Okay.
Coconuts' hair gets longer when she first discovers her powers.
Yes,
like, grow your hair for more power.
Yay!
Gotta have that.
Love it so much.
Though, I will say, when she first sort of discovers her powers and does that big, like, explosion, like, big flash to save Paprika, I think that's my favorite animation sequence in that whole show. That's so awesome looking.
It's so good, and it's well acted, and
Speaking of, I guess maybe we should touch on the animation. I think, because that was what got me interested in the show, not gonna lie. Yeah. I just saw GIFs and clips of the ridiculously awesome-looking animation here.
GIF or GIF? I say GIF, he says GIF. It's fine.
The creator says GIF, the creator says GIF.
So Matt says GIF, I say GIF. You'll get used to it, don't worry, because I have-ish. I loved the animation. I don't know a lot about animation, but I've seen enough shows, both anime and Western animation, that, yeah, I can tell that this was very well done. I love the character design.
Yeah, the character art is brilliant. The fight sequence and big action scene animation is really awesome looking. I did notice that the first maybe 3 or 4 had a lot of really cool shots and big fluid animations. And then it kind of I feel like, oh, we're running low on budget. Okay, so it dropped off a bit and we got very normal stuff. And then it spiked up at the end. Yeah. So, which was like, oh man, I missed that, but whatever, it's fine. I get that. Yeah. Those scenes are really hard to draw. But I love that the fight scenes felt pretty visceral. Mm-hmm. They did some of the classic anime tropes of, fists are flying so fast you can't see them, and which is sort of looks intense, but also is super easy to animate.
I love the kick in the stomach, and it pauses so that you can see the foot hitting the stomach, and then kaboom, they're gone into the next frame and
going around that. I like that this was toward the end where they both punch the giant monster. I like the trope that you hit someone and you don't see the force of the blow; it just sort of explodes behind them because it's apparently that powerful. That was classic. Once again, I saw scissors as a classic weapon for some reason.
Yep, Coconut had scissors.
Coconut has the scissors. We gotta have scissors for some reason.
Anime and their scissors, man.
Yep. I would love to know, if anyone knows why scissors are such a prevalent weapon in anime. I would love to know.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting.
If you do know, wallapodcast@gmail.com.
Or jump on the stream or whatever.
Or you can tweet at us at @thewallacast and tell us, please, why scissors are involved. Opening! Did you love I loved the OP and the ending. Oh, so cute.
I like the ending animation. I'm much more partial to the opening song and animation together.
I liked the ending because it kind of eased you into it, but then you heard the flip-flap and flip-flappers and the theme.
I don't think I ever made it to that except for once when they actually did the ending over the actual show. But otherwise, I think I instantly just...
They had a cute little flip when they say flip-flap, and the 2 girls flip, and it's so cute.
Did you make it to all the end credit scenes?
I think so. Okay. I'm pretty sure I did.
Every time I see that, I was like, oh, I wonder if she missed that.
No, because, when I skip over the endings or the openings, it'll go right to the next scene. And
that makes sense.
I discovered early on that it'll go right to that cutscene. So,
that's
yes,
good.
I caught all of the cutscenes. Thank you. But please stay tuned because it doesn't happen often. I do miss them. But I love the opening. It was so good.
Speaking of the opening, what do you make of all the, sort of audio terminology that's used throughout the show?
The audio terminology.
So you didn't notice the episode titles?
I mean,
it's always something...
pure echo, pure...
Yeah, it's always it's pure condenser, pure input. It's all audio terminology.
Oh, wow, I didn't even put that together.
And then the opening itself is audio waveforms.
I noticed that. That I did know. Go me.
There's more, too, but I can't... I forget what they are.
I wonder why. Because nothing really was auditory. This plot wasn't auditory.
Yeah, I feel like it's some symbolism I'm missing. Though impedance was the big plot point that they talked about, so that was a thing. You gotta get your impedance to resonate, I guess, which is not what impedance is, but whatever.
Also, I also thought of resonation like Soul Eater,
yeah. So resonate.
Soul wavelength.
But yeah, resonating is a sound thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I didn't even. Wow. I don't know if that makes me stupid. No, I'm just not stupid. I was focused on other things, you guys. Mainly the 2 main characters. Oh, they're just so cute. I ship them so hard.
Maybe that's another question for the audience. What do you guys think is up with all that? What connections does everybody draw? Because it was obviously a thing. Again, every episode is something to do with
something auditory,
some sort of audio terminology. Usually, often electronic. We're making a production of some sort. I really couldn't find a specific thing, but.
Oh, one of my favorite tropes made an appearance.
Yeah?
The stomach growl.
Oh, I was going to say the anime roll? No.
No, not the anime roll, but the stomach growl, mainly with Paprika, and that is #relatable. Because I get the stomach growl so much, but that is one of the earliest tropes that I fell in love with. Because it's just so, you hear it, and then there's dead silence for 5 seconds while everybody looks embarrassed. It's just so cute. I love it. I love these little tropes that are so cute. The anime roll, the stomach growl, the ear tuck.
This is one thing I'm sure I'll pick up more on this if I go back. This is definitely a show I think is worth multiple watches because I feel like the way that they're trying to tell the story, we kind of alluded on there's a lack of sort of explicit exposition. So the way they're sort of choosing to tell the story is a lot through visuals. And so it would be easy to dismiss this as someone's sort of acid trip, but none of this is by accident. All of these things in Pure Illusion matter. So trying to decipher the symbolism, I think, is kind of its own exercise, and I'm sure I missed some of it, but
yeah.
Did you notice how many times Kokona is behind windows or bars or some other restrictive thing before she sort of finally accepts herself and opens up to Paprika?
I noticed it later. I didn't notice it right away.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good. Again, it's hard not to, the whole Alice in Wonderland episode is hard not to draw they're rabbits. What are rabbits a symbol of?
Humping like bunnies?
I was going to say fertility because that's more mature, but fine.
2 types of people.
B14. But yes. And their urge to bite things, and again, urge to bite things. What's the first thing that Paprika bit?
I don't know.
Kokona.
Oh, right. Well, hey, that's fine.
Yep. Because Paprika is okay with her urges, but Kokona is not. She resists all the way to the very end.
I love it so much. It's one of those, I feel like, I'll need to watch it again. Symbolism is easily lost on me on the first viewing.
Yeah.
Or first 3 as a parent with Madoka. I still don't know about that show, but, I'm learning. It's fine. It takes me a little bit to get beyond the relationship or the characters to see the symbolism.
Yeah, I'm sure I missed probably 80% of it at least. But those are little things I picked up on, and I could tell that there were definitely more things to it, even if I couldn't quite figure it out right away. And I just thought that was interesting, and I like that sort of medium. I like that anime are still willing to do that.
The symbolism?
Yeah, and just tell a story through just visuals and not more of your standard fare.
I like that kind of show.
Yeah.
Because it makes me think of Madoka, Evangelion, very visual shows.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, which I like a lot.
Me too.
Oh, we didn't even talk about Yayaka.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yayaka. Okay, I am not a Mean Girl fan, but I do love the Mean Girl redemption arc. It is my thing. I love it. And it took me about 6 episodes before I actually started rooting for Yayaka, because I knew there was a feeling that she was going to turn, but then she didn't. But once she got threatened by her head honchos, I was like, oh yeah, she's totally going to turn. This is great. I'm going to root for her the whole time. Yayaka for the win.
Was anyone surprised that she became a flip-flapper in the end?
Nope.
I wasn't.
Not at all.
But I was really cool in the end anyway.
Yeah, she had a really good transformation, and I just liked that she was still not the mean girl, but she still had her same attitude.
Yeah.
Through the end, and I love it. I mean, I just love it when the mean girl has the redemption.
I did like Yayaka's arc a lot. In some ways, that was one of my favorite parts of the show. And
again, could have been told a little bit longer with the twins
certainly.
And all of her, whoever was in charge of her. That whole thing, I was like, can you just explain that instead of making us? Because I just want to know what is so important to them that Yayaka feels the need to stay with them for as long as she does. And
I'm not gonna lie, that eye patch was dope.
You
like
would.
that was a good look.
I knew you were gonna say it.
It makes her look awesome.
I know.
She's like a total badass.
It's gone at the end.
I know. Well, she loses it when she transforms.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I did like the eye patch.
I guess she gets healed or something. Whatever.
Yeah, there you go. It's all the magical powers. Chelsea Ryan McCurdy is someone who I have heard before in Cross-Ange, but again, kind of more of a minor character that I wouldn't have been able to pick out. I really liked her vocal performance here. Yeah,
me too. She was the person I've heard of the least, I think, as far as any main role in this cast. Yeah, I think she did a really good job. I enjoyed when she was there. I liked the sort of thing that they were building, that you've got the team that relies on technology and the team that relies on magic.
Yeah.
As sort of a dissonant rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the technology were the bad guys because technology is always evil.
Yeah,
whatever. Anyway, that's pretty typical, but whatever. But I did like that sort of contrast as far as design goes, at least.
Yeah, she had a couple of really good moments. Her whole sacrifice to save Coconut, it was so good. I mean, I knew that she probably wouldn't do anything to hurt Coconut, but at that point, actually, it was so well done that I almost was like, is she gonna do it? Is she actually gonna do it?
I didn't think so either, but it's true. I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, which I usually am 100% sure, because they kind of telegraph it pretty early on.
Yeah, that's true.
But she had so many back and forth moments that it actually did make me wonder if she was actually gonna, because she beat up on Coconut pretty hard.
Yeah, she seemed totally willing to.
She was pretty
inflict harm.
So her whole performance in that episode and that scene was so good. So good. Just that sacrifice and the visual. Again, you were talking about the animation. That episode was so good. Carly Mosier. Hey. Yeah,
I wish she had more to do.
Same. She's so good. I love her so much. She's good at that kind of role, though. The monotone, robotic, I'll do anything for you, master. Well, okay, I don't know anything if she does this. But this particular, like, the drone for the other side, she's pretty good at. I always like hearing Carly in shows.
Did you? Speaking of, we mentioned Sailor Moon. Did you notice the poster in Coconut's room?
Yes, I did.
Sailor Loon.
Sailor Loon.
Oh man.
Yeah, she had a couple posters in there, but that was the only one that I actually was like, oh, look, it's Sailor Moon.
Obvious reference.
Really. Yeah. It's great. I wonder why they chose Sailor Moon. It's like a magical girl show or something.
Yeah, wonder why.
Oh. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of WallaCast. We hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we enjoy making it. Feel free to tweet at The Walla Podcast and find us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Walla Podcast. Many thanks to Anime Unlocked for having us on their platform. And if you aren't on Unlocked, you can download the app for iPhone on the App Store or join us at facebook.com/groups/Anime Unlocked. Join us next time for a discussion about Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works with special guest Graham Thompson of the Anime Book Club. That episode airs exclusively on Unlocked on May 28th. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, let's go flip-flapping!